welcome to Hear Her Voice panel. My name is Aliyah Lopez, Marketing Manager at Audiomack, and I am super excited to kick off Women's History Month with these lovely ladies tonight. First up, we have Breeze Johnson, who's the Senior Director of Music Programming and Talent Relations at BET Networks. Next, we have Gabrielle Mella, who's an A&R and Product Manager at Empire, as well as managing some of your favorite Latin artists. We also have MeLisa Heath, who is too an artist manager to some phenomenal artists, in which she'll get into later. She's also a video producer and handles the label operations at Freeband's label. And last but certainly not least, we have Suzy Ryoo, co-founder and president of Q&A and Venice. Welcome, ladies. So starting with Breeze, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your day-to-day look like, and anything you would like to describe first?
Well, hi. First off, thank you so much, Aliyah, for having us. This is a wonderful panel. It's really an honor to be a part of it and to have been asked to be able to, share my story with these amazing women and just, with all of you guys who are watching. This is just a great time. It's March, and women should stand up and speak out. So I, as Aliyah said, I'm Senior Director of Music Programming and Talent Relations. It's a long title, which basically means I oversee all of the music networks, digi networks for BET Networks. So that is everything from, a lot of people, you might be familiar with BET Jams, BET Soul, but we also have many other music networks like BET Caribbean, BET Gospel, BET Hip Hop, Canada, BET Heart even plays music videos. So any place that still plays music video programming or even I also oversee our digital streaming partners, our DSPs, that we do play BET programming on. So that's everything from Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, and so forth and so on. So on the music programming side, I oversee all of those networks. And then my job is also talent relations. So on the music talent side, which means I book and have continue relationships with all of the music talent, celebrities, music talent that BET works with for all of our array of programming, from award shows and ancillary programming around that to digital executions, brand creative executions, things that are off air, on air, live events like our BET experience. So yeah, it's a pretty big role, and I've been I've been at BET for, oh my God, 8 years now. I've actually been at Viacom CBS. We are, for those who may not know, Viacom and CBS merged a year ago, right before COVID. And so we have many sister stations like MTV, VH1, CMT, Logo, but also CBS, Showtime, and Paramount. So I've been there for a total of, oh my gosh, over 15 years with Viacom CBS. So veteran here, been doing this for a minute. Been at a few other places like Music Choice. I started in radio. And again, I'm going to pass the mic because, but that's a little bit about my history, and we'll get into the day-to-day, but that's pretty much a good start.
Thanks, Breeze.
Well, I'll go. My name is Gabrielle Mella. I work as a product manager in A&R for Empire on the Latin side. So, I oversee a lot of I'm basically like that connection between the label and, the managers and the artist managers and teams. And I also work with a lot of Dominican artists and manage some of them. So yeah. We'll get to the day-to-day like Bree said, but I'm very, very excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here. Suzy, Melissa?
I'll go ahead and go. My name is MeLisa Heath, and I'm an artist manager. I manage both a producer that's based out of LA, thank God for Cody, and I do day-to-day management for SZA. I also produce videos, so mostly music videos, but I do some commercial work as well. and I run the label operations at Freebands with our emerging artists, and it's an indie label based in Atlanta.
Thank you, MeLisa.
Welcome.
Nice to meet everyone. My name is Suzy Ryoo, and I'm the co-founder and president of Q&A. And at Q&A, we are a music and technology company combining software and services and strategy for the music industry. We just recently announced our flagship software services platform called Venice. And I was about to choose Atlanta as my background for this Zoom, but I chose global instead. So nice to meet all of you ladies. I've been in the music industry for 6 years, and I'm lucky to have been brought in to the industry thanks to my co-founder and business partner, Troy Carter, who's our CEO. And I joined him in a completely different role, to be honest, to join as a venture partner on technology startups and investing. And so over 4 years, we invested in over 50 companies together in media and entertainment, but also in mobility and transportation and healthcare and education and wellness across the board. And a few years later, 2 years ago, we decided to take a bet on ourselves as the entrepreneurs and started Q&A after he had helped build the creator services team at Spotify before going public. I think we just realized that we could combine our superpowers and our unique understanding and our perspective and build a strong team and a strong value proposition for independent labels, independent managers, and independent artists that is complementary to the major label ecosystem, and do so in a world where we can create our own cultural institution. So it's been super fun for the past 2 years, like starting a company from scratch and building software products from scratch, where, similar to Audiomack, where, you guys have built over the past almost 10 years now, right? Is that 5 years? But, having software engineers, having product designers, having A&Rs and marketing executives in-house to serve the industry. I think we see companies like Audiomack that are growing quickly globally in the space. And we see them as kindred spirits in that we are serving the business side of the industry, the independent artist managers and labels, and not the consumer listener side, if you will, but there is a important and symbiotic relationship. So Aliyah, thank you, and Vanessa for inviting me, and happy to contribute.
Thank you so much, Suzy. And yes, shout out to Vanessa. She leads data partnerships over at Audiomack. And if you're not familiar, living under a rock possibly, Audiomack is a digital streaming platform in which we also produce original content. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, including YouTube to view our content, and Audiomack World to read up on some of your favorite artists. So tonight's discussion is all about business ethics, climbing the corporate ladder, creating your own table such as Suzy, and talking about us women. So let's just start from the very beginning. What was the first job that led to your success today?
I don't know if I would start all the way back at like waitressing and things like that, because so much of my job as an artist manager is customer service and understanding people and talking to people and listening, right? Or if I would start with my first position in the industry, I actually came into the industry with Freebands and worked under our CFO as her personal assistant. And it was a secondary career for me because I had worked in tech for about almost 10 years before I switched over into the industry. And I told her when I took the position that I really wanted to get into the industry and I wanted to do something new. I wanted to kind of follow what I felt like was my purpose, right? And I wanted to just figure it out. And so she let me come in and be her personal assistant. And it was interesting because I told her when I took the role after coming off of a corporate position where I was quickly climbing the corporate ladder, I said, I'll be the most overqualified assistant that you'll ever have. And it's always good when you can just kind of bet on yourself, but in that role, being able to watch her and learn the business and see the ins and outs and the day-to-day of what it looks like running a label, it helped me tremendously in what I do today. And it gave me so many opportunities to not only learn about what the industry looked like from a business side, from label and distribution partners and working as an indie label with our partners at Epic, but also what it looks like working day to day with an artist and what all the back end things look like. And it's really helped me grow just so quickly, having that opportunity to work under her.
Amazing. I love how you segued from waitressing, because I can totally relate to that, because you learn so many different, interpersonal communication skills back then to being an assistant and seeing it from the ground up. So that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, absolutely. You'll be so surprised how much of my job is just listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
I started my job in production, actually, in MTV3. So yeah, Viacom. I'm a Viacom, person. I started in Viacom. And while I was in the company, learning, I was a production assistant. So I was just wanted to learn more about that position. And I started as an intern before that, and they hired me. My boss there, she was like, "Oh, you're so good at production. You should definitely consider it." Although I was studying audio production, but I mean, I was like, well, meeting managers every day. I'm working with artists because I got to work for the music TV shows. So part of my job was to actually be in that shoots and interviewing artists and, hanging with publicists and artists and managers and, all of that sort. And also part of my job was doing cue sheets. So when I was in MTV3, I started seeing like a lot of Dominicans, they were like submitting music videos, but they didn't have any publishing information. And I was just like, wait, like what is happening? That there must be something going on, or like there's no organization on the music publishing side. So I decided to start my own music publishing company. And I was like, well, I'm gonna learn music publishing. This is probably an opportunity I should, take advantage of. And I went to Dominican Republic, and I started like, going to talking to songwriters and producers. I signed my first songwriter, and 10 years later, I became her manager, which is Melly Mel, which is a huge Dominican rapper, very well known in Latam. And like I will say that's what started my career on that side. But also like starting production helped me meet a lot of people that eventually brought me to where I am today. So that's how it all started.
Love to hear it. Suzy, please.
I'll go because I like what Gabrielle said. I stress, I can't stress this enough to a lot of the people that I tend to, younger people in the general that come into the music business or want to know how to get into the music business. Intern, network. So I started as an intern right while I was still in college. I went to Morgan State University, HBCU, stand up. And so I was an intern at the local radio station there. Now, I did intern at a lot of different places before I realized because what internships did for me was kind of show me what I didn't want to do. So when I got the internship at the radio station, because I was like, I love music, but I don't really know what you could really do in music. So I was like, listen, I'm going to try to get an internship. I got an internship in the promotions department where you hang banners and you go out at, promotional events and you give out swag and you do whatever they need you to do. I was that intern that I had 18 credits at college. I would come do however many hours they wanted me to do at the radio station. I did whatever they wanted me to do, whether from getting lunch to I've emptied out trash cans. There was no job that was too small for me to do so that I could just be around all of the people, the players, and observe and you know, whether, like I said, if it was go run, get me lunch, or go grab that copy off the copy machine, go, you know, fax this playlist out, you know, our ads, whatever it was an opportunity for me to show whoever was working there that I am hungry, that you don't, and by the way, there was no paid internships back in the day. So it was strictly college credit. Luckily, I was able to get that. Some people even did it without college credit, but it was to show that you were hungry, show that you wanted to learn whatever you could possibly learn, and that you were there to network with whoever would see you and need something done, and you could be there to do it for them. I interned I worked in the promotions department, and then I interned in programming, things like that. And I was still in college, and once, and because I was so much that aggressive intern, and you know, was there overnights if needed to be, I did whatever and whenever they needed me to work, I was there for free. And so when a job opened up, someone said, "Hey, remember that thick girl that was running around here all, all the time? And we really liked her. She never said no. She always had a positive energy. She was up to do everything that we needed her to do. We should maybe interview her for that job." It was an executive assistant to the program director of the radio station. So it was WERQ FM in Baltimore, 92Q, which is similar to, like, you know, if you're in New York, it's like a Hot 97 here, or, you know, Power 105. It was the urban radio station in the market, #1 urban radio station in the market. And so when I went in for that interview, well, someone called me and was like, "Hey, you know, I slid your name over to Tom Calicoche. He was the first guy to hire me in the music business." When I went in for the interview, he actually, you know, he didn't, first of all, he didn't really want to meet me. He didn't remember me. He was the program director. He didn't even pay attention to the interns, but everybody else at the radio station did. So, you know, he was like, all right, everybody keeps talking about you. I'm going to give you 30 minutes, you know, I'm also going to tell you one thing. I really already know who I'm going to hire, but I told somebody here I would give them do them a favor and interview you. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll take my 30 minutes. And about an hour and a half later, because he just kept, he did not want to let me go. He was like, "Now see, I'm going to have to call up that other girl and resend my freaking offer, because I want you to start and be my executive assistant." And by the end of that interview, it was my job. I had the job, and I learned. I'm just going to say, you know, cut to today, where I oversee all of music programming. I learned how to program from working in that radio station, from being his assistant, from days when he didn't feel like, you know, programming a log. He would just say, "Listen, I'm gonna show you how to do this, because I got to go meet with Diddy or whoever he had to meet with, or some head of a label." And he was like, "I'm gonna need you to finish this log for me." And I'm like, "Okay, RCS selector, show me, whatever you want to teach me, I'm here to learn." And so you know, that's how I learned to program 24 hours of music at a radio station. He would have me also sit with, you know, music veterans that some people might know, Deion Summers or Butterman. I know me and Baby Sam, who is at RCA, who was my girl, like a sister from another mister. She and I started interning at the radio station together. So it was just a fantastic learning experience. It was not easy, I think, and I did not do it for the money. I think my starting salary was something like $15,000 a year. So you know, I was still living at home, but it was an opportunity, and I took that, and it was full time, by the way. That was a full time for $15,000 a year, no money. But it was an opportunity to learn. It was an opportunity to network, and from there, once I was in, you know, I took that opportunity to learn how to operate the board in the studio. I talked to the radio disc jockeys, and you know, and learned how to be on air under them. I sat with the music directors, and of course I was hired by the program director, and eventually I moved up at that radio station to be the assistant program director, the APD. And then from there, a job opened up, and somebody actually said, "Hey, they're looking to hire a programmer. at VH1 at Viacom in New York. And, you know, I was, or acting, I should say, I was the acting APD. I didn't get the actual title at the time. But I said, okay, I would love to go to New York and potentially try to throw my name in the hat. And ironically, it was a coordinator position. So I had like did so much work and moved up the quote unquote corporate ladder, but in a very small market, or in, you know, in a smaller pond. But to go to New York and to potentially do programming at a television network. And I love MTV, I love VH1, I watch BT, like I love that Viacom, the entire, all of the Viacom networks. I thought it was such an amazing opportunity, but I was like, okay, if I get this, I'm moving 3-4 steps back to be in a bigger pond. But best decision I ever made, because then I applied my skills of programming music on radio to my skills to learning how to program for television and program music videos. And the first job I got in New York at VH1, because I did get that job, I ended up programming four networks: VH1 Soul, which is now BET Soul; VH1 Country, a Black girl from Baltimore programming country music; VH1 Mega Hits, which was a rock station, programmed rock; and then of course programmed for the mothership, which was VH1. So it was an amazing opportunity. And even as a coordinator, to take those 3 steps or 4 steps back, it really propelled my career forward, because it was a challenge for me to program multiple networks of various genres. But then again, that being able to do that and show, improve, and step up, soon I was the first Black person anyway to head up programming at VH1 on the music programming side. So I moved up the ladder several years after that. But I was given that opportunity and worked my way up from coordinator because, you know, I took that chance.
Thank you so much, Breeze. That was amazing. I have so many remarks out offline with you. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And Suzy, how about yourself? What job was like really contributing to your success today?
I don't know how to follow that, Breeze. That was amazing. And all of your stories, I love so much.
Thank you.
I will share. I started in a completely different industry in finance. Like I studied business and finance and strategy. I thought I was going to move abroad and like work in China or something. I'm a South Korean immigrant. I got to the States in 1992 under the context of the Rodney King trials a couple months afterwards, and what was happening in LA from a cultural tension standpoint, and just like, you know, very unfair. And with that, I never really knew I could work in music. And, you know, with immigrant entrepreneur parents, I did the thing of studying business and strategy and consulting and investment banking, like all of the paths that people push you in college, if you will. And I quickly learned in my first finance job that I did not love building financial models. But I got quite good at it, but not quite good enough in terms of like everyone else around me who was in that job. And a year and a half later, it became it just like was a mutual agreement between my bosses at the time and myself that I was not really it's not going to work out in this role. And put in my 2 weeks. I had been training for a marathon. And so I called it my 26.2 miles of change to go from a 6-figure salary in finance, in entertainment finance. So before really knowing what a music publishing catalog was, I was working on music publishing catalogs. I took a total swing and accepted a role as an assistant digital strategist at a global digital media company. And so then my job became the poverty elite, as we called it, but not as poverty elite as Breeze for $15,000 a year. This was $32,000 a year. And what that job meant was our company would advise global CMOs of Fortune 100 companies on their advertising spends and budgets, as digital was a new thing, if you will. Digital was search ads and display ads and like retargeting technologies. And so I loved it. And it was a total risk of going from 6 figures to, you know, $32,000. But I walked into an office that had a creative tone. that had an indoor dog park, and that I was a digital native. I was on, you know, Zanga and LiveJournal and Blogspot, and like as an elementary school student studying the internet. And I loved it so much that I ended up spending 5 years there. And this was where I discovered venture capital and technology and startup founders. And I still didn't know that I could work in music. My first love in music was K-pop, of course, because it was the mid 90s and K-pop was just starting to become a thing. And other than K-pop, it was, you know, Mariah Carey and TLC and Will Smith and all of the above. And after 5 years at OMD, and there were lots of different roles that I had at OMD. Every year was a different learning experience, but there was one where I felt sucker punched, where the leaders of the team, like the founder, the leadership left to go join another company. Or actually it was to start their own company, of which now there are 200 employees. So very proud of them, but I felt sucker punched because I couldn't go with them. Like they couldn't take anyone with them. And I think that experience helped me so much because it forced me to rise up as a leader. And it forced, like, you know, teammates were looking around being like, are we leaving? Are we going to find our next jobs? And I decided for myself that I was going to stay. And I was going to stay for the love of the clients, the love of the work, and rebuild the team. And that became like an instrumental moment because, you know, of course, a year and a half later, it was the time to leave. But when I made that decision a year and a half later, I was a different executive. I had rebuilt the team. I had rebuilt that trust with the clients. And when I decided that there was more for me on the other side, past that role and past that company, it was like the oceans parted. And within a span of a couple weeks, you know, Troy entered into my life. And get this, by way of hearing about this team and the work that we did. So he heard about a good team's work and wanted to learn more. And in that meeting, it was a team of like, you know, 6 people at the time. Everybody was new, with the exception of basically me. And so then it became a conversation between Troy and myself of what the team's mission and taste was compromised of. And it became a conversation between him and I think he saw something in me that I didn't quite see in myself yet. And so, you know, 2 one-on-one conversations later, he asked me to join him as his investment partner without me ever having written an investment check into a company, which is bananas if you think about it. But, you know, sometimes you see talent and you take a bet on the talent and what they could become. And so I'm very lucky and grateful that Troy took that bet on me. And now we are taking that bet on others at our company. And about the music industry, I had so much imposter syndrome coming into the music industry, learning all the names and faces, learning all the institutions and ecosystems. And honestly, the first people that Troy put me on email or text message with that I was like, you know, had one of those oh shit moments was Andre Harrell and Rodney Jerkins. And like, you know, rest in power to Andre. And for me to like enter the industry in that way, to have like the trust of Troy to be put on with the people who had mentored him, like Andre and like Rodney and so many others, I feel very, very privileged to be in this position that I am. And so for me, like my goal is to look out for others too. So I'm very honored to have discovered all of you. And we may not have crossed paths before, given that, you know, it's not like I've been in industry for 10, 15, 20 years, but I know that in my position, I want to be able to support incredible other women and other voices that not only deserve, but should demand to have opportunities that might not have been available to them in the past.
Well said. Thank you so much, Suzy. And speaking of imposter syndrome, how did you ladies find that inner confidence, that inner resilience to combat that imposter syndrome in which we can deal with on a daily basis, especially being at home in a pandemic and having to, you know, communicate via Zoom and use technology to the best of our advantages? Susie, you can kick it off, or if anyone wants to go first, feel free to.
You know, sometimes I say I can kick it off. Sometimes I give this advice to teammates who are struggling, because I've struggled with this as well, of like, how do you carry yourself with that gravitas or with that kind of inner strength that people take notice, right? No matter what position you are. I'm a person who doesn't care about titles. Like whether you're a director or a senior VP or an EVP, like I don't care. If you show up with passion and with authenticity and with like poise, that matters, and results oriented. That goes so much further than a title. And so sometimes I advise teammates on create your own work persona. Like it's not different from your personal persona, because I feel like in music, personal and professional just blends so much, but create your own alter ego a bit, of like the Beyonce Sasha Fierce, of that, you know, how like TM, like not politically correct, but that, you know, big dick energy. Oh my gosh, I just said that on a recorded panel. Of just like create that energy for yourself of what you bring to the table, even if, you know, like all the guys do, of like faking it till they make it. And somewhere inside of us as women, like we have that too. And if we could just pull that out of us, like exactly when needed, but kind of bottle it up in a Sasha Fierce type of alter ego, I think that would go so far for so many women.
I love that, Sasha Fierce and the BDE.
I mean, I would say like during the pandemic, in the position I am in, like, you know, product managing and being A&R, and also like managing artists, like I'm in a position that I can just like go back and be like, well, you know, it's a pandemic, I'm not gonna do anything. No, like I have people that trust my judgment and trust me to, you know, to like help them. And it's like part of my job to literally like pull them up and you know, like, let's continue, let's do this. So like 2 weeks into the pandemic, I would say I was like freaking out, because I was like, what is happening? I was, you know, used to traveling and used to like going to events and promos and touring and stuff like that, and I was like, well, I don't know if this is going to change. So I literally told my artists, like, you know what, we need to continue. We have demos, we have stuff going on, we, you know, we have to improvise, you have to record yourself, you have to learn how to do stuff, you know, cell phone videos, you know, like you know, being innovative. And I think that it's like my thing, like that what keeps me like running and going. It's like I know I have responsibilities of people's life in my head, and I need to, you know, I need to be complete for them. So like it's not like one or two artists that are like waiting on me. It's like I have a lot of artists and songwriters and producers that I work with, and that, you know, that I help out, that I need to be for them. You know, I need to be strong for them. And you know, it does pull like a little bit on me, but at the same time they are trusting me, you know, with their careers, and it's important for me, you know, to show up. So I think that's what has helped me, you know, to you know, to wake up every day and just be there for them, and just, you know, bring on results for them.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, MeLisa, you can definitely attest to this.
No, absolutely. And even thinking about what Susie said when she was talking about just having like building that resilience within yourself. And I think for me, when it comes to imposter syndrome, and what's helped me is like leaning into the results of my hard work. You know, when you see the results of your hard work, you know that you deserve to be in the room. And so when people question your seat at the table, I've definitely been in rooms and in studios giving my opinion in a male dominated atmosphere, and someone has said, why do you have the right to say that? Why do you have the right to give that opinion? when we are all in the same room with the same title, with the same power and responsibility to the artist that we're critiquing, but me being the only woman in the room having to answer that. And I just stand there and I'm like, well, why not? Well, I'm MeLisa. That's why. That's what gives me the right to say that and to do that and to have an opinion. But I also know that I have a proven track record, of success. And it doesn't matter if me and Suzie are in the same boat where I had a previous career, right? And I had a proven track record there. And even though it wasn't in the music industry, hard work translates. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in or where you're going, it just translates. And so for me, it's really been leaning into the results of my hard work and being able to say, I deserve to be here because I've worked to be here. I'm so thankful for the opportunities that people have given me and the doors that have opened that I couldn't open for myself. But I know that when they open those doors, I did my part. And, and you can just kind of lean in on that. And when it comes to the pandemic, it's been such a different world working in the pandemic and figuring out how to engage our fans during the pandemic and how to, like Gabrielle, keep our artists inspired and figure out what we can do to help them and keep them motivated and to motivate ourselves too. And for me, I always just go back to my why, the pandemic doesn't change my why. I'm here because I want to not only, that's my dog. I'm sorry, guys. It's pandemic world, so you're all used to this, but it's my why, and I'm here because I love the music. I'm here because I love entertaining people, and I can't sing and I can't rap, but I can support the people that do, and I can help them and empower them to tell their stories. And every day I see what music does for our world and our community. And even thinking about the releases that we've had during the pandemic and the things that I have seen from the fans, it's like a circle. Like, we inspire them, they inspire me. We inspire them, they inspire me. And so that for me has been how I've been able to get through the pandemic, and definitely how I've I won't say I've conquered imposter syndrome because it's like an everyday fight, but that's definitely how I fight back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Breeze?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything these amazing ladies have said. All right, so let me think about how I've always approached it. I'll say this. I love a challenge. I've always loved a challenge, and I've been underestimated from day one. And that for me has been how I tend to be that silent but deadly executive that you never even saw coming. You didn't. And I kind of agree with Susie. I don't care about titles because I've met some senior and executive vice presidents that just aren't as smart as the manager that works for them. I look at what your creativity is and how bright you are, and when you step into that room and you open your mouth, what are you talking about? And how have you contributed to whatever the solutions or the business, or how to drive this thing forward, and out the box thinking. And I'll say this, like, I remember there was a line I remember Oprah said one time in a interview. She said, I didn't have as much experience, I didn't have the title, whatever, but I knew I could read people under the table. I could outread anybody in the room. For me, I feel like I can outwork and I can prepare. I will come to that meeting, I will come to that shoot or that production, and I have prepared, I have, and I will outwork anyone in the room, and they don't think or see me coming. And they, I'm not very tall. I feel like, aesthetically, men tend, when a man walks in the room, people will potentially think, okay, is he the boss, or is he an executive? Especially if he's a tall individual. I think that, aesthetically, I may not command someone's presence when I walk in, but by the time I open my mouth and I run that meeting, or I wasn't even asked to run the meeting, but I step up and lead, everyone's like, who is that? And I want her on my team. And yeah, we're going to invite her to the next meeting and we need her. So again, I always underestimated, and I'm fine with that because you don't see me coming, and I've always blown people away with my work ethic and with my preparedness, and you know, quite frankly, being smarter than even some of the more senior titles in the room. So, you know, I am fine with not necessarily with being underestimated, not necessarily being thought of first, because that's when I'm able to come in and step up and change people's minds. That challenge is fine for me. Dealing with the pandemic, I'll say this, and I'll say this to everybody listening. This will go down in history, or 2020 will go down in history as like, we can't even believe the fact that we're still all here. Let's start there. We are blessed to still be here. I have lost so many people, family, friends. You know, people have, you know, have lost their lives. People have lost their jobs. And we are fortunate enough to have been able somehow to survive and pivot and do what we needed to do to come out on the other side stronger and more innovative than ever. So I say this, what I've done is I just gave myself grace. I allowed myself to just say, hey, every morning I'm not going to feel like putting on this face, doing this hair, and being prepared for this, for the 15,000th Zoom. But I am going to be, so you may not see me on the Zoom, but you are going to hear me. I am going to be engaged. I am going to be prepared for that meeting. I am going to show up and you know, excel at whatever project we're working on. And even though we pivot and we're in, you know, we had to work in this more challenging environment of isolation at times. For me, it was okay because I had my daughter, so I actually like being at home. But I know a lot of people, it was a challenging, very, very challenging to not be around, to have that connectedness of your coworkers and colleagues. Give yourself grace. It's okay. You're here. You are doing a fantastic job by the fact that you are still here and working towards your goals and pivoted and something that is going down in history as, you know, the most devastating thing that's hit our country and our world in centuries. So it's okay. It's okay. And just keep moving forward as best you can.
Amen to that. Well said, Breeze. 2020 is definitely going in the history books, back to 1920s and all the years and centuries that have come beforehand, that we would read history books and be like, this actually happened. And looking at 2020, that's exactly how I perceive of that. And speaking of which, in addition to being in a pandemic and, you know, adjusting to this new work environment, we've also been witnessing a ton of social injustice from home. This has been going on. This is nothing new. However, just being home, being in a pandemic, and everything being recorded, it hits differently. And I want to know your ladies' opinion and how you are using your voice to advocate for those of minority and, you know, us just even being women, and especially for the Black community.
I think it's one of those things where I'll say for me, I'm always concerned with justice. I'm always concerned with what's right. And I try to live my life daily in a way that I'm advocating for myself as a Black woman and the Black community just by the work that I do and the things that I am attempting and building, right? And so for me, it was just finding people, like-minded people to partner with. And while there were so many eyes around social justice and so many opportunities opened to partner with other people and to amplify my voice and amplify their voices, I just really leaned into the community that was created. So many people connected themselves through the internet, where normally we would just, maybe I would just connect with people in Atlanta, but because of the pandemic and all of the social unrest happening at the same time, I was able to connect with more people in LA and New York and talk about what they were doing and learn about so many things. Like when we think about the social justice and social unrest, a lot of times we just think about the police violence that we see on the streets, but we didn't necessarily tie it to the pandemic and how many people lost jobs and how many of those people were Black and brown people. And there were so many things and initiatives. I never knew about community refrigerators before the pandemic. And all of a sudden I was learning about community refrigerators and how to be involved, not as MeLisa, the artist manager, or MeLisa from Free Bands, but just as MeLisa, that finding places where I could go and donate and help and finding things to tie myself to, but also finding ways to use my platform and to use the artists that I work with to just amplify the work of nonprofits that had already been fighting the fight of social justice. And that's really, you know, that's it. But it's also one of those things where it's like, it's not a new thing. These are things that I do on a daily basis. These are things that concern me and things that I care about. You know, like I did work in Flint when they had the water crisis. And it's just about living your life in a way where you don't turn a blind eye to the bad of the world, and you're always finding a way to use your work to amplify the good.
Absolutely.
I'll jump in. So the things that happened in 2020, from George Floyd to Breonna Taylor to it as a Black woman, it just became exhausting. This was not something that we dealt with for the first time in 2020. It's not the first time. It's not going to be the last. And so just to state that, like, it was like we were dealing with two pandemics at the same time. For our community, we were disproportionately affected by COVID and you know, a virus that was wiping out so many of us. But at the same time, we were still dealing with systemic racism again and again and again and again. I mean, so two things happened, at least at BET, which is it's owned by Viacom CBS, but it is really Black operated. There is a lot of Black people. I don't know if people truly know that, but it really is. And it touched it. So these, the situation that we all found ourselves in, really, our network, our teams, our people as a whole felt like we definitely had to do something and do more than, you know, and we, you know, of course, you know, we want, and I'll go back, I'll circle back around to my personal, what I personally did, but as a person at BET, as a woman of color, a Black woman at BET, you know, we had a actual COVID relief. It was actually I think probably one of the first virtual specials that you really saw on TV. We quickly put together a virtual special where we raised money. We partnered with United Way, and we raised tens of thousands of dollars. Actually, I'm not sure of the final amount because we kept going for our community. But we had artists, obviously, you know, we connected with our artist partner, our label partners, artist friends, and put together a virtual concert. And that was probably last April. And right coming, you know, a month or so after the shutdown happened. And after that, you know, we were actually, BET was the first fully virtual award show, which was our BET Awards. And so in the COVID special, we tackled and raised money and addressed, what was happening with this pandemic. But in our BET Awards, if anybody had an opportunity to see that, that was social justice, from start to finish, from Amanda Seals being our host and killing it, to every single artist that we challenged to, create, to use this opportunity and use their creative voice to pre-tape a performance that spoke to what was happening in the world. And I mean, I wasn't one of the executive producers on it. Connie Orlando, my boss, and the JCE team, and Jamal Noisette, and things like, and our amazing producers who worked so hard on that show. It was phenomenal, because it was blackity black, 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 and it was our opportunity to just really address in our way, from our perspective, just everything that was going on at that very, very pivotal time. I mean, the streets were people were marching in the streets. It was just a time in our history that, it was a new civil rights movement. And of course, BET had to be at the center of that. And at least the one thing we can do is we have a platform. We have a television network. So we're going to, as MeLisa said, we amplify what was going on through the power of media and through the power of this huge multi-platform network. And what was really kind of dope about it is that CBS simulcast it. So an audience that, our audience, they're here and they're going to watch, and they know the BET Awards. It's like a huge family, whether you're a part of making it internally with us or you're a viewer. You've been, you guys, our community grew up on BET, but CBS, them airing the BET Awards was an opportunity to talk to a lot of other communities who who saw it in the news, but really, don't experience it every day the way we do. So I thought that was a really amazing opportunity to really reach people who truly may know, but honestly aren't day-to-day connected. And so circling back around to kind of what I, in addition to working on those amazing shows, what I did personally is I took that as an opportunity, to again, reach out to my white friends and my counterparts and people that just want to understand, like, we're seeing all this. What can we do? How can, we don't think this is right either. What can we do to be involved and to help fight the good fight with you guys, and because this injustice has to stop. And I might have been asleep before, meaning people see it, but weren't necessarily active in trying to do something about it. It was an opportunity to really engage with those who are not African-American, who did not share the African-American experience day to day, and just say, listen, thank you for asking. If you really want to know, I'm going to tell you, and come on. And I had an opportunity to really share and bring a lot of those people who wanted to help over to fight the good fight with us.
Yes, and thank you so much for that. We have to just continue the fight, amplify, recognize, and have these open discussions to moving forward to an equalized world as much as possible. And I do want to shed light, because I know that there's a lot of Asian hate going on in the community right now. So my love and prayers to the community. If you have anything that you want to say, Suzy.
It's devastating, the two pandemics, or the many pandemics that we have going on. But hopefully the light in all of this is that we can see, and we can be aware, and we can bring along others alongside us in that awareness, whether it's for the Black community, the Indigenous community, the Asian community, any immigrant community anywhere that might face racism. There's racism in Sweden. And hopefully, there's obviously racism in Great Britain. Like we know that now. Oh my goodness. And thank you for mentioning, Aliyah, the Stop Asian Hate campaign and like the Asian violence happening. To be honest with you, like as an Asian American immigrant, racism becomes really real once you are out of your natural community and out of your elders and your churches and your, near after elementary school, junior high school, and high school, especially if you're in a predominantly Asian community, like where I grew up in Southern California. Like racism was not a thing, if you will, until college in LA proper. But, working for years in finance and in advertising and in media, and then joining, I didn't really see very many people of color, like one or two here and there, right? And in joining Troy at Atom Factory, which is our old company, the music industry is diverse as it relates to, people of different backgrounds. Working in technology and working in like venture capital, oh my goodness, like I became a staunch evangelist for why aren't there more Black VCs or Black or brown software engineers or product managers, or women engineers, designers, all of the above. And it's so palpable in technology and venture capital that it kind of became a personal mission of mine as well in doing that work with Troy. And so I would go into rooms where it was all Black VCs, of which there were, you can count on a couple hands 5 years ago. And, one time I even got a look of like, why are you here? Of like, why are you interested? And it's because I had seen that this was a thing and it should not be a thing. And so, no hard feelings to the person who asked, because there just weren't other allies in the room. And I just wanted to contribute and participate, not necessarily lead the discussion, but follow and learn and contribute. And so in being fully in it now in the music industry, the problem still exists in tech, but slowly but surely it's getting better. In the music industry, where that similar problem resides, it feels like it's in the executive ranks. Like the music industry is led by Black music and by music of color, of immigrants from their past backgrounds, and bringing that. And with that, we just need more women and people of color in those executive ranks leading companies and getting the spots to rise in ranks. Even when I said I don't care about title, right? Sometimes it matters. And so with that is also a bit of a personal mission to help enable women and people of color into those executive ranks. But, because you mentioned Asian hate going on currently, what I don't see in the music industry is a lot of Asian people who work in music. And there's probably a thing there of, immigrant families forcing their kids to go be doctors and lawyers, just like a lot of times families of immigrants from, Nigeria or anywhere. And with that, in the past 10 years, I do see some more Asian creatives, Asian, executives, and I hope that continues. And some Asian American artists as well, like separate from K-pop. This is a whole different thing. And with Asian violence, like when I heard about it, first and foremost, I was like, I would love to see some data, just because I hate seeing these videos. And I'm so grateful for the videos because they help us be aware. But I would love to see some data on, is this really happening at a systemic rate? And that data showed up, and it's wildly terrifying. It's like in the past year, 3,000 cases have been tracked. That's many cases a day. And with that, I felt urged to join for that cause as well. And I just think it requires like building allies. And, so if each of you here on the panel, as well as whoever is listening, also stand up, I'm so grateful for that, because we have to just protect each other and enable each other. Last thing I'll mention as a personal, my own personal action of the murder of George Floyd and the injustice that has existed for hundreds of years is, as I mentioned, I'm an immigrant and I came to the country in 1992 in the context of the Rodney King trials. After the murder of George Floyd, I decided to apply to become a naturalized US citizen. And I had not done so in many years. That's like, woe on me, because I had been eligible. But I decided to do so that I could participate in actually voting. And that was my own personal commitment, my own personal action. So I passed my test last week.
Woo! Congratulations and thank you so much.
Thank you.
We do have a question in queue for Gabrielle. With the explosion of Latin music in the last few years, do you ever see a world where Latin and English music are equal in the United States?
I mean, I just feel like it should be a time where Latin music should be dropped and it should just be called music, because we're living in the US where there's a lot of like immigrants. Like it's a country built of immigrants, and I feel like Latin music has, you know, become so important in this country. And like, you know, you have one of the biggest artists right now, it's a Latin artist, which is Bad Bunny. And, you know, like you have this artist participating in huge events, you know, like and going to Jimmy Fallon, going to all these interviews, which are super important. So yes, I do feel like it's something that should be considered equal. And it should be called music in general, but not only Latin. I also feel like, you know, there's a lot of like African artists coming to the US right now and like doing great, you know, and all their like, I mean, there's a lot of like immigrants here. So yeah, I mean, definitely it should be considered equal. And we do have a lot of like Latins in the States. So yeah, definitely.
I have to hop in a second, but you know, thank you to Audiomack for, it feels like over the past year, 2 years. And, you know, I first met the Audiomack team 2 years ago as we were starting the company, starting Q&A before Venice even had a name. And it just feels like over the past few years, Audiomack's ability to spot talent early and also not care that the talent is early, like their first single or their first or second EP, that they're not, you know, 1 million monthly Spotify listeners or 1 million Instagram followers. It feels like Audiomack has found a place for discovering early music without seeing the boundaries of exactly what Gabrielle just mentioned of, you know, just being music, whether it's artists from a Latinx background or, you know, artists that are Black or artists that are Asian. So, you know, appreciate your team.
Thank you so much, Suzy. And thank you all for joining today. On the Audiomack tip, yes, we're a small but mighty team. We are globally present from Africa to the Caribbean to Latin American countries, Europe, Asia, United States, and Canada, of course. We're literally everywhere. And I'm just so appreciative to be here and have a team that doesn't care, like you said, Suzy, as far as, you know, if you have 1,000 or 1 million followers. We're all about moving music forward and being a part of the artist's journey from the very beginning to even heightened. So again, I'm super grateful for talking with all of you ladies tonight. Any last remarks? Any favorite artists that you're listening to right now, plugging in on your hard work that you're doing on a daily basis, feel free to jump in and shout yourself out. MeLisa, like SZA's video, amazing. So I know you guys have worked very hard on that. So kudos to you and the team for doing an amazing job on that rollout and staying afloat in this pandemic.
Absolutely. Thank you. You can definitely, after you get off, go stream Good Days again and again. And also you can run to Audiomack and stream Thank God for Cody. And Free Bands has our own curated playlist on the Audiomack platform that I would love everybody to tap in with as well. Thank you so much, Aliyah, for having me. And I really appreciate you lovely ladies for spending time with me in conversation tonight. Thank y'all so much.
I'm just gonna say I've watched that as a video over and over and over again. It is she looks amazing. She killed it. I said okay, she just came back swinging. That one and the Doja Cat video this week, but you guys, again, strong women stepping up and shutting it down, and it was fantastic. And I'll just say this was such a pleasure to be a part of this panel. I've learned so much. I've met some amazing women. I want to keep this conversation going with you ladies. I need to get your contact information. But Aliyah, just kudos to you. Kudos to Audiomack. We, with BT, we love working with you guys. You guys are so innovative. You so forward thinking. You're right at the cusp of anything that's new and fresh, and it's just been delightful working with you guys, and we want to continue to grow with you. And it's just, again, even doing this panel tonight and allowing us as women executives to speak and be heard, and we're just really thankful and grateful for this platform. So thank you so much, Aliyah, and thank you for your fantastic team.
Thank you, Breeze. Appreciate it.
Susie? I just wanna add as well that I've seen Audiomack on the Latin side grow so much, and there's always been so much support for Empire on the Latin side, from billboards to much more ongoing stuff. So I appreciate the team. Thank you so much for having me, and having a space for creating content as well, which is so important even during the pandemic, which I think Audiomack stepped up very, very well. So yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Gabrielle.
For us, a plug, we have been working with, well, I want to plug the ladies, but I'll plug a guy too first. We've been working with Eric, the architect from Flatbush Zombies, and Audiomack team has been awesome. So thank you. It's his first debut solo project outside of Flatbush Zombies, and a very different look into his world, into the pandemic mindset, into how to future-proof your life and your business and your life. So that's one's excellent. And then I'll also plug, we work with the incredible Moses Sumney, a genreless, wonderkind. And then I'll plug a female artist, an Asian artist actually, named Twee, who just released a single called Chances. And when I first heard Twee's music, I was so surprised and pleasantly surprised at just her vibe, her Bay Area energy. And I encourage you all to check her out. And she's Asian. So, love to Asian creatives. But we work with many artists, being independent distributor, label services, software and services company. So much more to come for us, but thank you for inviting us to join for this, and that we are new in the market.
Yes, absolutely. And love Twee. We're definitely supporting her over at Audiomack. So amazing to hear you're connected to her as well. And again, thank you so much, ladies. Happy Women's Month. We're still celebrating and still going strong and representing us as women. So appreciate your time tonight and looking forward to connecting in the future. Thank you so much. And to all that's watching, thank you so much for joining in. Be sure to download the Audiomack app and stream our music, as well as watch our original content on YouTube. Thank you so much for this evening, and have a good one.